I bet y'all thought I was gone, huh? I thought I was gone too, and then yeah, I ran across this. So I said, let me come and share this and talk about it. The role Asian American business play in black communities by design. Hmm. By design. So, the question I'm asking is, who designed it to be that way? What happened and how? You feel me? So I'm gonna go on and do this, and yeah, let's talk about it. Let me know your thoughts on it. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you ain't subscribed. For more content. And we're about to get underway right now. Just let me post this thumbnail real fast. I wonder why I don't know how to post thumbnails on Facebook. That's the one thing I ain't figured out how to do is actually post a thumbnail on Facebook. It's kind of crazy because I should know how, but every time I try, it just doesn't work. But all in all, let's go and just get into this video though.
Asian American businesses have been operating in black communities for 60 years. I'll say it again. The Civil Rights Act passed in 1964, and the United States opened the door to Asian immigration in 1965 to put immigrants in the way of black people. And this idea that the tension between business owners and customers is one of mutual cultural misunderstanding that could be overcome if they just got to know each other better, the time for that has long passed. And as I've said before, the problem with framing the misunderstanding as mutual is where one demographic owns the businesses and the other demographic has to pay. There's no mutuality. There is a power imbalance. The only situation that I could see being beneficial at this point would require Asian Americans to be willing to leverage their ability to secure the business loans, to secure supplier accounts, and to attain business licenses to open in black communities specifically to hire black people to work in the businesses and to provide the professional development opportunities so that black people can become the leadership in the businesses in their communities. But I don't have a lot of hope that Asian Americans are willing to do that because the Asian American business owners that we see currently are not even willing to treat their black customers as human. So I fully support black people boycotting these problematic businesses in their community. And I want to say that I think another thing that non-black people aren't aware of is that it is not as simple as boycotting the businesses and putting them out of business and then opening your own to compete, because the system will find ways to still not give them the loans or rezone them so they can't open a business or not grant the business licenses. And suppliers are literally conspiring against black people who have managed to open a business in their own community to not supply to them because they don't want black people competing with the Asian American owned businesses in the community. So I
Wow.
wish that I had more to offer in the way of solutions, but I really don't. But please do not gaslight black people with respect to what the issue is. Yes,
Dang.
this is really important.
And I asked them, I said, should we boycott Asian shops? Is that what we should do? And then every one of them said yes. Yes. Because how are black people supposed to mobilize if they're in our communities? It's not no Asian hating. It's about economics and why black people can't keep their black money within their community. So when you go to your corner shops and the food stock that they sell, right? They sell our food. They go to the corner shops. They have chicken shops lined up in our thing. It's all going back into their community. How is it coming back into ours? We have to boycott them. We don't want to, but we have to boycott them to keep it within our community. Otherwise, how are we going to progress?
That's wild because they still not gonna give us the loans in order to succeed.
Obviously, the issue of Asian American owned businesses operating in Black communities is a huge source of tension because it is part of the daily violence faced by Black people in their own communities when they are disrespected as customers, to the literal physical violence, as was the case of the salon in Brooklyn, where a Black woman was locked into the salon by workers while they beat her with broomsticks, to the damage done to the psyches of particularly Black children when they are accused of shoplifting. And this isn't a topic that I'm going to be able to cover in one video, but it is a conversation that I do want to start. I think that if you ask some people what was the source of the tension, they'll say the LA riots and what happened in Koreatown, but you cannot mention the LA riots without recognizing the unaliving of Latasha Harlins the year before. A 15-year-old girl who was unalived by an Asian shop owner who thought that she was shoplifting orange juice, but the money to pay for the
Wow.
orange juice was in her hand when she was unalived. To overlook that is to value profit and property over Black
Wow.
bodies, which is at the root of the United States systemically racist system and capitalism. But I think that we have to go all the way back to the Civil Rights Amendment of 1964 and then the opening of Asian immigration in 1965. So in 1964, white power
Oh, I'm
structure
good. What's up with it,
almost
P
faced
Car?
accountability to Black people. Black people should have
Uh,
started to be able to receive loans to open
you can
businesses
call
in their
me.
own communities.
What's up,
But
Dave?
instead, in 1965, the United States opened the door to Asian immigration, and redlining meant that Asian Americans were receiving business loans, but only to open businesses in Black communities, and Black people were still not receiving loans to open businesses in their own communities.
They wasn't gonna let you
So, where
open it
you
in
have
their
this weaponized
community.
positionality of Asian Americans being put in Black people's way, of course, you are going to have resentment not only over the supplanted opportunity to open businesses in their communities, but also over the fact that the Black dollar is now being paid out twice, once when the customer pays for the goods or services, and then again when the Asian business owner removes that wealth from the Black community.
That's crazy,
And I
bro.
frequently heard the tension being framed as mutual misunderstanding, where these Asian shop owners didn't know about the civil rights struggles of Black people, and Black people were not familiar with the culture of Asian business owners. But I don't think that it can be framed as mutual misunderstanding where there is an
What's
uneven
up? What's
power
up?
dynamic. You have one demographic that is the business owners, and you have the other demographic that is having to pay. So, where there is uneven power, I don't think that it's accurate to frame it as mutual misunderstanding. Yes, this is really important. Asian Americans were redlined from opening businesses in white neighborhoods because white people didn't want Asian Americans operating in their neighborhoods and didn't want Asian Americans profiting off of white people. But because the positionality of Asian Americans is weaponized to oppress Black people, Asian Americans were being given loans to open businesses in Black communities, even though Black people were not able to receive loans to open businesses in their own
And
community.
that's the part a lot of people don't understand. They be making it seem like that struggle wasn't happening to us. That's why I'll be glad when people start speaking up, other races, because they know, they knew what was going on, but they just wasn't saying anything. And then we get kind of looked down on, like we're not doing this and we're not doing that, and it's like, bro, they don't just throw us loans. They wasn't doing that. You feel me? They was giving it to them and then tell them you can't open one in the white neighborhood, but you can go open it over there. Wait, I wanted to finish
Yes, this
that.
is really important is
My
for the
bad.
goods or services. And then again, when the Asian American
Yeah, we already seen that one, but
I'm going to be honest. As a Black person in the Asian community's business, I just want to say that seeing this outrage and seeing a lot of these Asian content creators really sharing their
it's,
opinions and expressing themselves about the way they're treated in this nation and how their culture has been taken and disrespected in the by the major population is really a breath of fresh air. I'm glad to see it. I'm glad to see other individuals really standing up for themselves and standing up for their culture. um, it's used. We're just used to it being us. We're used to jumping up and down and saying things, and people telling us, "Don't use the race card. Don't say this. Don't say that. It's in your head." But to see other cultures really stand up, just imagine if the Black culture, the Asian culture, the Middle Eastern culture, the Hispanic cultures all came together and talked about these
Mm-hmm.
common things. And we really tried to create policy and procedures that would protect us as individuals instead of assimilating into the culture of this nation.
This is what I was saying the other day. They want us to assimilate and feel like we part of this. None of us are. This is how they pin us against each other and play us against each other. Then we get to hating each other because this is their game. And then we'll say, well, they want to be part of their game. And it's like, we do too. We try to be part of it too.
Just think about that. I mean, we're already we're so called this melting pot, right? But who wants to be a melting pot? Melting pot means you put everything together and then you end up being just one blob of something. You melt together, you assimilate. I want a chopped salad. I want that Asian culture. I want the Hispanic culture. I want the Black culture. I want the Middle Eastern culture. I want it all in there. I want to taste all the flavors separately, okay? We could have that if we just stop trying to assimilate and stay true to our cultures. So kudos to the Asian content creators who are going ham and saying their feelings. I look forward to seeing more. Every time I see something, I'm going to like it. I'm going to share it. Okay. So again, welcome to this side of the aisle. I hope in the future we will see some collaboration between cultures because we need it. We really need it.
And I see you said, I see why they didn't say nothing. Like they parents, they're talking about their parents. This is what their parents did, and they got brought and put into it. So now, like I said, a lot of the young ones are like they're speaking up now. Now they see it and they going, wait, hold on, this shit is wrong.
So, as a Black person who is perpetually in Asian folks' business, I'm finding this continuing discourse on white people in the Asian grocery store really interesting. And I think it's because my name is Mel. I'm the equal opportunity reader. I read everything through a happy Black lady lens, which means that I'm always trying to connect everything that I see on this site to book. And it occurred to me as we slid into the part of this discourse that was like, oh no, Black folks are in Asian folks' business, and actually that's kind of okay, that there are quite a few examples of Asian scholars, writers, thinkers writing about Asian intersections with the Black experience. There are precious few modern examples of Black people writing about our intersections with Asian communities and Asian American communities. And I think that's actually very connected to the way that this whole like white people in the Asian mart discourse is going down. Let me explain. So first, when I was thinking and brainstorming about books that might be connected to this, the first book that came to mind was Kathy Park Hong's Minor Feelings, which is not about Black people, but it is about the experience of growing up Asian American in proximity to a lot of different cultures. And she's very honest about some of the things that occur for Asian Americans when they're in proximity to Black people or white people or other Asians. It's an interesting book. You should definitely take a look at it. But then I brainstormed some more. And, there are definitely examples of this. I mean, there was a book not too long ago called When East Meets Black, which is about the intersections of Asian and Black masculinities, which I thought was really interesting.
Hmm.
Let me look up the writer because I'm sure somebody's going to ask. East Meets Black is by Chong Chon Smith, who is a professor somewhere. He specifically, I think, looks at Afro-Asian imaginations, which I find quite interesting. I should probably look into more of his work. But point being, those two books came to mind and like a handful of chapters. And there's a couple of short stories in the anthology Charlie Chan is Dead, which was edited by the legendary Jessica Hagedorn. I have never known how to say her name. I should look that up. It's Hagedorn. Okay, I've never known that. But Jessica Hagedorn, who is a legendary writer, she wrote the book Dog Eaters, which is a classic, but she also edited two collections that I used to really love called Charlie Chan is Dead and Charlie Chan is Dead Too. And there are a handful of stories in those books that address the relationship between Asian Americans and Black Americans. There is Toni Morrison's novel Home, which is about a Black man who fights in the Korean War. And there is an
Hmm.
essay in the collection Whiter, which was edited by Nikki Khanna. It's a collection of essays by Asian women about colorism. And there is an essay in there by a woman who is Malaysian, Black, and Chinese, I believe, um, who talks about her experiences of colorism, as well as a really interesting essay, the very final one in that book by Betty Ming Liu, who she's a Chinese woman who married a black man who has a biracial black and Chinese daughter, and she is a dark-skinned Asian woman, and she writes about her dark-skinned black and Asian daughter and how hard she works to make sure that the colorism of both cultures did not affect her daughter and stopped affecting her. I love that essay. It's my favorite one in that. But that said, I think that the relative dearth of work by Black American authors on Asianness, or as opposed to the not particularly expansive but existent contingent of work by Asian authors and Asian American authors on Blackness, is directly connected to this whole white people in the Asian grocery store debacle. And let me tell you, what that discussion, and again, I'm speaking from outside of the club, but what that
Hmm.
discussion seems to really be about to me is proximity to whiteness. Now, it isn't for everybody. There are people who live in places where there aren't any white people who really do not care if there are white people in or out of their grocery stores. And I see you, I feel you. However, a lot of the discussion, regardless of the actual reality of the situation for many people, a lot of the discussion is about proximity to whiteness and whether or not you're seeking it. And I think that is exacerbated by the fact that the person who made the video that started all of this is, I believe, a biracial Asian. I don't like that term, but that's what people say. A
I
biracial
feel
white
that.
and Asian person. Um, and
Amazing.
as a black person who spent quite a lot of time outside of the US and spent quite a lot of time studying uh, cultures that are not black or white, um, there's something interesting that happens within academia that we don't talk about very much, which is that if you are white, you are free to study anything you want. You can become a subject matter expert on anybody and anything. But if you are black, you study black people, you write about black people. The farthest you can go is Africa, and there's nothing wrong with that. However, I find it interesting that white people historically within the world of art and within the world of scholarship historically and presently are allowed to look at anything and become an expert in anything. There's an open gateway
Ain't
to
that some
absolutely
weird
everywhere,
shit?
everybody, everything. And I will be the first person, and probably not the last person, to say that often that expertise is not particularly well formed. It's just that they are white and in a space where they are often the only one, and people take their
That's
observations
hella weird.
and their conclusions as valid because being white in a space where you are othered for being white somehow renders you an expert on that space. I saw it all the time in
All
Korea
right,
and I hated
bro.
it.
I'll go check
Like
it
all
out.
kinds of stupid stuff. I mean, I'd be sitting somewhere minding my business, and some white guy'd be like, "Oh, the Confucianism of Starbucks." Oh, Starbucks, my dude, really? Read another book. Read another book. But historically, people who are not white are often very limited in what we are considered to be experts on. We are experts on our own culture. We are not considered competent if we try and study something that is either not white or ourselves. And
That's
that
some real
happens
shit.
often in terms
That's
of
crazy.
like cross cultural studies. Like there are long historical relationships between lots of different communities, but often those relationships are obscured because academically, socially, artistically, often we in the West at least are trained to go through this intermediary lens of colonial whiteness to get to other cultures. I complain about this all the time, and I've written about it, but it won't get published, and I bet you know why, because it's not good. But I
Yeah.
do
That's
think
why a
that
lot of shit I
often
don't
you
be
find
liking to
Asian
read that
American
shit.
scholars and Asian scholars who, for whatever reason,
Cause they
find their
painting
way
a
into
picture for you.
academia and are okay with the prospect of seeking great proximity to whiteness.
And then look, this is what's crazy. I hate to say this. Even when we see our black scholars, they quote the white books too. Like think about that. Our black scholars will quote the white books that was written by the opposers, our opposers. And we'll be like, This is where they getting their information from. This is what I started to say. Wait, hold on, bro. But but I ain't the one to gossip, so you ain't heard it from me.
Which then,
But I like the
ironically
way
or
she's
perhaps
spitting.
not, gives them more access to write on and become subject matter experts or have their observations and conclusions taken seriously on people who are not themselves. So you do occasionally get Asian American writers who are considered experts or who work deeply into cultural areas that have nothing to do with Asia. And I don't think that's wrong, but I think it is frankly annoying that often the way to get to those positions is by seeking proximity with whiteness and then writing about blackness or Latinness or something that is not you or not from your ancestral culture through this intermediary lens of whiteness to make it palatable and acceptable primarily to other white people. The people I mentioned before, the books that I mentioned, they don't do this, which is why I like them. So, yeah, I think that it's interesting to see that this discussion of the Asian grocery store has somehow swung around to, ooh, black folks are in our business, which is interesting because I feel like we are actually being taken seriously on our own merits and not through the intermediary lens of whiteness, which is always interesting. It's nice to see those kind of discussions. This is why I like TikTok. Sometimes you'll have a discussion that kind of transcends the limitations that are placed upon it by mainstream social norms, and I enjoy that. I'm
Me
enjoying the
too.
conversation, even though it is getting kind of nasty in some quarters, but whatever. Also, one thing that I find interesting is that somebody made a great comparison. I can't remember who it is now to tag her, but somebody said that the thing that is most akin to the Asian grocery store in Black culture is the church. Now, I don't 100% jibe with this because the Asians have churches too, and mosques and gurdwaras and all kinds of other things. But I do think that the recognition of places like Asian grocery stores as places of cultural affinity is a very important point that a lot of people who are diving in and all up and through this conversation are missing. I think that there are places of cultural affinity, and if you are not a part of the culture, you don't know that that's what it is. Which is why, when I talked about this before in a previous video, I said that I go to the Asian grocery store all the time, but I only go when I'm with Asian folk because I'm an Asian people's business like that. Anyway, peace. So
Peace.
I don't have much to add to this H Margate drama except for this. Black people staying in our business, I like it. Because regardless of what your position is on the whole H Mart, blah, 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 at least you guys are caring. Because at the end of the day, this whole H Mart scandal is about whether or not Asians should be welcoming to white people and if assimilation or getting the goodwill from white people is the goal. You know who's been staying giving us that goodwill though, via drama and gossip? The Black community.
Yeah.
And it's making me think about my immigrant mom, who was an engineer for 30 years, worked with a ton of racist people. But she said that one person who just seemed to really understand her was the only Black person on the team. And she was like, there's just something that like we just get about each other. And also, I think she thinks I'm cute. And that has never left me. I always think about that. So thank you for having our backs, Black community. May we return the favor.
So I ran into a couple video regarding how certain black community think that Asian is open up business in black community and take advantage of the black people. And there's some other black folks that are very understanding. It's like, hey, that's not how it is. That's it's just people trying to make some money. They just want to make a living. So as an Asian American that live in a black neighborhood, I just want to break down a few things. Okay, so uh, I live in Pine Hill in Orlando. It's called Cram Hill. There's no
Said
IHOP here.
Crime
There's no
Hill.
Danny here. There's no L House here. There used to be an L House. They closed it down too. You know, if you want to eat some real food instead of the McDonald's or uh, Popeye or Wendy's or something like that, there's not much option here. They would not invest here. Like I work, I make money. The problem is not me giving money for service. The problem is they don't want to provide service because they don't want to take the risk of getting robbed, breaking windows, and people with attitude, whatever.
All the stuff that happened
And
in all neighborhoods.
the Asian American that open a business in the black neighborhood or high crime area or whatever are normally the one that doesn't speak English very well, don't understand the culture very well. Um, you know, they want cheap rent. So to them, it's like the black neighborhood is still better than where they came from. You know, it's still so much better. So when they open up a business, it's like they put themselves at
Hold on, bro. Look at the comments be outrageous. Look, this is the comments. I gotta quiet down because it's like I'm being loud. They say your business is in the community, but no one sees you come or go. Where do you live? Love to hear somebody else's perspective. Thanks, man. He said, "LOL, no, dude. Y'all getting played just like the black people. The whites don't want y'all in their neighborhoods. Dang, wow, that is crazy, bro." He said, "That is the only area you're allowed to open business. You'll be blocked from the white neighborhood. Look, they only let you go to the black neighborhood. They not letting you go to the white neighborhood and open up. That's a no."
I'm anti capitalist, but of course, to a degree, I can support black capitalism. In this money country is power, and the Chinese idealistically have been in support of black people gaining their own power and autonomy over the white man. We saw a way to take both of our situations and turn it into a win win. They tried to turn Asia into a sweatshop, somewhat succeeded, and they literally committed genocide against y'all. So, a lot of places where they took black people or enslaved black people, you're gonna see the Chinese pop up. Specifically, the Chinese. And it created a symbiotic relationship very much akin to what you see at the beginning of Sinners. We were supposed to lift each other up, help each other out of this poverty and the positions we were put in, but instead, the propaganda, successfully, turned us against each other. I also think in part this has to do with the West trying to make certain Asian places rich, because the fire under Asian people's asses would be a little less hot. But even in making us rich, we recognized a lot of flaws that come with capitalism. And now I feel this is what's going to happen with the American black community. You know how they made Asia rich? Or tried to, tried to make us dependent on them? But right now there's a huge uptick, and I'm not complaining about it, of black excellency being more
Yeah,
public,
Chinese.
black films, black art. Really a beautiful moment during one of the most
Yeah, they
conservative
everywhere now.
presidencies the US has seen, one of the most racist and violent. It's the end of this empirical cycle, and the empire is suddenly making and allowing black people to be rich. That's why Japan is US occupied. Taiwan is basically US controlled. They only made us rich when they wanted us to stop building, or when they wanted us to do something for them. So without having fixed any of the problems with the machine, and now becoming a cog, you gotta wonder. I'm anti-capitalist.
What's crazy is you get caught up in thinking rich and money is everything. They probably don't even touch money. They probably like see money like be like money, like I want to touch that. You know how many hands it's been through? It's like why would I want to even touch that stuff? Like I would never have cash in my pocket. Like, who wants money? Like yeah, we do. Hmm. I wonder why. Why do we have that mindset? And why when we get money, why do we think we better than everybody else around us? Because we got a lot of money. I ain't the one that
This is
got
really
this.
important. Asian Americans were redlined from open.
Elaine the Pain, I've got a business idea for you, and it's much better than your spurious boycott. So listen up. You commented on my reel asking the question, what have Asian business owners done for the black community apart from taking all their money? Well, the honest answer is nothing.
He said,
Because
what
when
is
you
she
buy
talking
something, you
about?
exchange goods or services for money, and that's usually where it ends. That's kind of like typical business. But let's explore your point. If you believe Asian businesses should give something back, what would that actually look like? Firstly, I'd suggest hiring black employees where possible. Secondly, utilizing black supply chains. And thirdly, contributing to local projects which help the black community. Now, here's where you come in, Elaine. Why don't you set up a committee that works with these Asian businesses by creating a framework that shows them how to give back? They sign up, pay a small fee, and in return, they get certified as being a black supporting business. They can proudly display this certificate in their signage and windows, and black consumers now can choose where to spend based on who supports their community and who doesn't, rather than just the skin color of the owner. Instead of making clickbait videos, fueling racial tensions, and just blaming other people, why don't you do something real and build something that actually helps your community? If you're serious, drop me a DM. I'll connect you with my network and contacts and make this happen. I've already.
I, I don't even want to be disrespectful. I ain't gonna even speak on that one.
Yes, this is really important.
This is me sending love to the Black community because we love you. We love your support. Um, Sending you flowers. Anyways, listen to Black people because they've been right since day one. Just saying. This.
We're a Black and Asian owned business. Of course we love fried chicken.
We're a Black and Asian owned business. Of course, when he says Nika, I think he's talking about me.
But I'm speaking in Korean.
Okay, but you're saying it all the time.
But you know that Nika means you.
Okay, I know it means me.
We're a Black and Asian owned business. Of course we can sing.
And we can dance. And we're a Black and Asian owned business. Of course, our food is seasoned. We're a Black and Asian owned business. Of course, I told them there would be no K-pop without Black people.
We're a Black and Asian owned business. Of course, February is lit.
Okay, Gen Z doesn't say lit anymore. We sound old.
We're a Black and Asian owned business.
Wow, bro.
What is
Asian Americans were giving loans to open businesses in Black communities, but Black people could not get a loan to open a business in their own community. Black people
I
couldn't
want
get
to
a
talk
loan
about
to do
something
nothing.
that I've noticed in my favorite establishments that I frequent. I am noticing Asian and Latin are buying each other's businesses. Now, as you can see by the hat where I'm from,
I was thinking that too. I said if we actually work with anybody, it'll be the same thing. It'll be like we already doing right now, working for somebody, making them richer. You feel me? It's not, you know, it's not helping us be able to create our own businesses and do our own thing. It's not helping that. So it's like, that's what I was about to say. So, I'm glad I didn't have to say it.
hasn't always been common here. So in 2025, to see that my mother's people and my father's people are exchanging the sauce and sharing the keys to success, this is beautiful. I've always wanted to see my people owning stuff. Now that that's in effect, we have to figure out how can we get Black Americans in on this as well too, because
it's crazy because I'm about to end it here, but like when I was younger, like growing, like I was born in '75, so in the '80s, the early '80s, on the west side of Fresno, all like the businesses were owned by Black people. You feel me? I don't know what happened or when it changed, but it was like when you went and got your hair cut, when you went to the corner store, when you went to the record store, they were all Black owned. JNC House of Records. You feel me? Wayne's Liquor. I mean, not Wayne's Liquor. I'm thinking that's another place, but they were Black owned. And then something just changed after a while. But you see what changed. They knocked us out of the spot and tried to put somebody else in the spot. You feel me? Gave them the loans in order to open up in us to stop what we was doing. This is what always happens, but I think people don't understand that. Then we kind of take it out on the Asians. Like this is what we will do. And I'm gonna say it again. I come from a mixed race background family. I got Asian nephew. I got Asian cousins. I got Mexican cousins. I mean, I got Mexican sons, cousins. I got white cousins. I got cousins from all different colors, different breeds. So, you feel me? I understand what they're trying to do to us and keep us divided in order so they can keep running over us. You feel me? And we'll keep accepting it. And then we'll keep pointing the fingers at each other. We'll point them at each other and keep destroying and fighting each other behind something somebody else is creating. But we won't point the finger at the ones that's doing the shit, that's actually letting this go on. The ones that's not giving us the loans. The ones that are not letting us open up our own business. Like we're not going after them. We're fighting the wrong people. I heard the one lady, she said, just think if we actually all came together. Think if we all came together, bro. Like, you feel me? Like, we ain't gotta like each other, but we all can work together in order to create something, in order to stop this that is going on. A lot of people ain't gonna see it that way, and I get it and I understand. You feel me? Said those days are over. Set them agents to block you out of their supply chain. I don't know where y'all from to be saying that. Like, I wonder where's y'all from? Cause yeah, it wasn't like that where I'm from. Like in Fresno, it never was like that. We grew up side by side, kind of sort of. Like, and I just can't. I can't be disrespectful to another race just because of a couple of people. You feel me? I would have to do that to my own also. Like, come on now. Like, you can't no black person out there say they ain't got that one cousin. They ain't got that one uncle. They ain't got that one brother. They ain't got that one sister. You feel me? We can't say that. You feel me? But at the same time, we still forgive and we kind of keep pushing. But you feel me? I don't know. I can't be like that. I'm not gonna be like that despite what anybody say. It's not gonna help me grow. I'm trying to grow. I'm trying to be better. I'm trying to be this. You feel me? So, but everybody's, open to their opinion to feel how they want to feel about the situation. That's why I'll be doing this, is try to see, to get everybody's opinion. You feel me? Because I'm going to tell you, mine don't matter. You feel me? I'm saying like that. Mine don't matter. It only matters to me. And that's what I love about it. But on that note, man, y'all have a good one. Peace out. And I'm a holla. I'm not doing this to create a divide or to make people hate each other. I don't spread hate. That's what I don't do. And I'm not going to ever do. Despite what? That's just not me. It can be you. You can hate. You feel me? And do like that can be you. But me, nah, I'm not doing this to spread hate. I think I'm doing this more as a social experience, a social experiment in order to see how people are. You feel me? And show you how we create hate ourselves. Like I keep saying. But, later days you'll understand probably. I don't know. But for right now, that's it. I'm saying too much, bro. Peace out. Y'all have a good one. I'm a holla.